First, I want to say something about the victims and survivors connected to Jeffrey Epstein. Too often, discussions of public figures and appointments can lose sight of the human suffering at the centre of these matters. Women and girls were abused, exploited and scarred. They deserved protection then, and they deserve to be remembered now. I'm sorry for any part this controversy has played in causing further hurt or distress. I've spent much of my working life trying, in whatever role I held, to make this country fairer, stronger and more successful. I have always believed public service is a privilege. It brings responsibility and scrutiny, but it also brings a meaningful chance to improve people's lives. That is what motivated me in government. The appointment of Mandelson as ambassador was a serious error of judgment. I advised the Prime Minister in support of that appointment, and I was wrong to do so. As I said in my resignation statement, I resigned because I believe responsibility should rest with those who make serious mistakes. Accountability in public life cannot apply only when it is convenient. The Prime Minister relied on my advice, and I got it wrong. It is also important, however, to distinguish between what I did do and what I did not do. What I did do was make a recommendation based on my judgment that Mandelson's experience, relationships and political skills could serve the national interest in Washington at an important moment. That judgment was a mistake. What I did not do was oversee national security vetting, ask officials to ignore procedures, request that steps should be skipped, or communicate explicitly or implicitly that checks should be cleared at all costs. I would never have considered that acceptable. These processes are in place to protect our national security. Finally, I want to place on record my respect for those who serve our country through public institutions, MPs, ministers, civil servants, diplomats, security professionals and many others whose work is demanding, often unseen. In the Cabinet Office, the Foreign Office and 10 Downing Street, there will be many people working long hours now to understand what happened here and to ensure lessons are learned. They deserve fairness and respect as they do that work. Chair, I'm here to assist the committee in its work. I made a serious mistake in recommending Mandelson's appointment. I accept the consequences and hope today I can help the committee to establish the facts and to make sure the right lessons are learned.
So how did you manage to persuade the Prime Minister that he should be the lead candidate, given what you'd heard in America and given what was in the due diligence?
So what I'd heard in America is mixed views. There were some people I spoke to there that...
You've told us that.
That said that Mandelson was a strong candidate. My view is that he was the lead candidate because of his experience as an EU Trade Commissioner and the political skills that I thought he could bring to the table.
No, because it's not your opinion that's important. It's the Chief of Staff has discussed candidates with you, with the lead candidate being Peter Mandelson. I mean, it is supposed to be the Prime Minister's decision, not your decision.
Yes. It's the Prime Minister's decision.
And the Chief of Staff has discussed Peter's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, which we will go through with you, but your Director of Communications is satisfied with his responses to questions about contact. Do you think it's appropriate when doing due diligence for you as a friend of Peter Mandelson to speak to the Prime Minister and for his responses to be measured by another friend of Peter Mandelson, Matthew Doyle? And for that information to be put before the Prime Minister as a basis upon which they can make a decision?
So I agree, and I think that when I look back on it, I certainly think it would have been much better if I'd asked Pet to ask those follow-up questions. I guess my thinking at the time was I'd put follow-up questions to him in writing, and that if a senior member of staff did that he would feel more obligated to give the truth and the full truth. I didn't feel that I got that back from him. But it wasn't my decision, it was the Prime Minister's decision, and he saw the DV as part of that decision.
You've set out why you think he was well qualified to do the job, but you've also known him for a very long time, and you will also be fully aware of the fact that he had twice had to resign from the cabinet, that he had business interests with China, that he had a close friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, and also that he was friends with Oleg Deripaska, who was a confidant of Vladimir Putin. despite all those things, you still thought he was the right person for the job?
Well, to take each one of those in turn, after his last resignation, he had rebuilt a reasonable reputation for himself. He had gone as an EU commissioner, and as far as I was aware at the time of his appointment, and I don't know what will subsequently come of their own investigations, but he had a good reputation. He was seen to have done a good job as EU commissioner. Then he came back into British politics and served as a very senior member of Gordon Brown's premiership, Gordon Brown's government, and again at the time was well regarded as a senior minister in that department. So he had done these two big political jobs long after his last resignation. It's why I think that a lot of the media and a lot of other politicians at the time thought that this was the right appointment for the country. The nature of the relationship that I understood he had with Epstein was not a close friendship. How I understood it at the time was a passing acquaintance that he regretted having and that he apologised for. What has emerged since then was way, way, way worse than I had expected at the time. And it was when I saw the pictures, when I saw the Bloomberg questions in September 2025, I have to say it was like a knife through my soul. I did not expect that level of connection that he was talking about there. As for the other issues that you're raising, I thought business interests would be dealt with in the Foreign Office, so people look at things like conflict of interests. When we appointed SPADs who have business interests, Cabinet Office and PET would deal with that, so that wouldn't be something I would deal with as a Chief of Staff. And if there was any national security issues whatsoever, then my assumption on that was that would be dealt with by DV, and if there was any national security issues whatsoever, we would then be told if there was a problem, and then the Prime Minister could pull the appointment. So from what I knew at the time, I thought he had re-established himself as a credible political, senior political figure in Europe and in the Brown government. I did not was aware of the extent of the relationship that he had, and I thought that these other issues would be dealt with at other parts of the process.